and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to introduce one of the country's foremost experts in persuasion. I'm a little nervous to say. Dave Lakhani he's a legend in my mind. He's the president of Bold Approach, the nation's first business acceleration strategy firm. Business acceleration strategy firm is a company that helps companies seduce consumers, build relationships, dominate top-of-mind awareness, and create powerful personal and company brands fast. Gotta love that, right? Fast. Dave has been responsible for developing dynamic strategies, driving record-breaking growth and increases in sales in more than 500 businesses in the past 10 years. Dave is an in-demand speaker, author, and trainer whose ideas have been applied by some of the biggest companies in the U.S. Way too many to mention. Dave's bold company approach was nominated as one of Fast Company magazine's Fast 50 companies, and Dave was runner-up for the 2007 American Business Award for America's Best Sales Trainer. Dave is considered one of the world's top platform closers, who regularly closes 20 to 70% of people in the rooms he works, and is often invited to speak at the largest personal development events in the world. His understanding of persuasion, behavior, and human motivation make him an in-demand sales and marketing trainer and hired gun to close deals. One thing I'd like to say about Dave, I asked Ken, who should I be watching? Who should we be looking for? Who can I learn from? I have a lot of people who ask me, Felicia, what's a great way to close from the stage? Ken said, watch Dave Lakhani.
Here's the deal. You guys heard a lot about me. How many people here suspect I may try and sell you something before the end of the day? All right, guess what? I'm not going to try. You're either going to buy or you're not going to buy. It's that simple. You either want to change your life or you don't want to change your life. I'm not in control of that. I'm only in control of the information that I'm about to share with you. But I'm going to share with you some things that will transform you, particularly in this economy. How many people here have noticed that we've had sort of an inconvenient economy lately? Yeah, it's changed some, hasn't it? Now, a lot of people are sitting around and they're saying, well, you know, this isn't real. It was very funny. There was a major internet marketer who 3 months ago said, this isn't real, it's all imagined. And then he just sent out an email 2 days ago saying, wow, this is really real, and I'll show you how to make money from it. The reality of it is it doesn't matter, and I want you to pay close attention to this, it just doesn't matter if this is real or it's not real, right? What matters is what people believe. What people act on is what they feel. What people do is what they believe. People's behaviors are their beliefs. I want you to write that down because this is an important key point. Wow, we have a lot of people sitting outside there, Ken. I find that morally reprehensible and offensive. I think they may be my first victims. So they can do what they like, and I'll do what I like. Fair enough? Now here's the other thing I want to tell you guys in fair warning. Have everybody written that down? Your behaviors are your beliefs. People say, you know, oh, well, you know, I don't really believe that. But then they do exactly what they say they don't believe. And the reality of it is, to become a student of persuasion, to get very effective at it, you have to study people's behaviors to understand what their beliefs are. A lot of people say, well, I need to learn how to effectively elicit the buying strategy of someone. Just watch what they do. They'll give you all of the techniques that you need to know. They'll give you all the tips. So how many people here today would like to have more money as a speaker? How many people here believe you need to add speaking or already have speaking as part of your product mix? How many people would like to make more money from that? Great. So what I'm going to demonstrate to you today are some effective ways of persuading people, and I'm also going to show you how I've built a consistent seven-figure business, a seven-figure speaking business that has lasted through several recessions, that's lasted, or economic downturns, or whatever you want to call them. And I'm also going to talk to you about what you can do here. Is that fair if I go off my PowerPoint presentation a little bit and just demonstrate to you some of the things that you can do to make more money in an inconvenient economy?
Yes.
Yes? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So here's the thing. How many people here have seen me speak before? How many people in this room? Okay, a lot of you have, right? So here's the thing. Since so many people have seen me speak before, rather than doing a lot of the things I normally do, I'm going to take up some more time and give you some more information. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. So here we go. I'll start with my story because this is very important. This is how I grew up. I grew up in a cult from the time I was 6 until I was in my late teens. This is not the cult that I grew up in. This was not nearly rigorous enough. My mom needed something more stringent. So I started out when I was about 5 years old with snake handlers. And these were snake handlers who, they were Pentecostals. And if anybody's Pentecostal, you know what? You guys have snake handlers around. It's just the way it is, even if you don't support your local snake handlers. But when I was 5 years old, this was my first experience of going to a large group awareness training. We went to church on Sunday, and these people would bring out snakes, and then they would bring out a book, and they would read from the book where it said that if you were pure, that the venom of a poisonous animal couldn't hurt you. Now, I was 5. These were big snakes. It occurred to me this was pure insanity. You know, if that snake bites me, number 1, it's going to hurt. Number 2, it's sort of freaking me out. And number 3, I'm up on the bench. And that's where I'm staying until the snakes are gone, until somebody can prove conclusively that they're gone. So my mom said, well, you know, we need something a little more stringent. So we moved on. And the cult that I grew up in was a cult called Branhamites. They believed in an end-time prophet named William Branham. They believed he was the literal resurrection of the prophet Elijah from the Bible. They believed in the literal interpretation of the book of Revelations and believed that you shouldn't have education past the 6th or 7th grade. They believed that women should be completely subservient to their husbands. And if they weren't, corporal punishment was allowed. They believed in no television. They believed in no radio. They believed in no dancing. They believed in no movies. They believed in no outside intervention. They believed in no marrying outside of the organization. These were the good values that I learned growing up. They also believed that it was really good to convert as many people as you could into this process. And so I became very, very efficient at a very young age at getting people to come into this process. You're a reasonably attractive woman. Nice earrings, lipstick. Probably have on pants too, don't you?
I do.
Going to hell, Jezebel. You'll burn there forever. The perpetual lake of fire will consume you for your inadequate desires, your unwillingness to focus, your unwillingness to do the things that you know you should do to change your life. Those are the things that happen to people who are unbelievers. This is where I started my life when we moved. We moved from Oklahoma to Idaho. For 3 months, I lived under those trees in a tent. And I thought we were camping. It was sort of cool. I didn't realize that, you know, we just didn't have any money for anything. Camping seemed pretty good to me. So we lived there for 3 months. This is where we ate. All the finest cuisine you could get behind the Albertsons grocery store. The Albertsons chain was started in Idaho, in case you didn't know that. So this is where I ate every day. This is where I went to church 4 to 5 times a week. Looks like your church, doesn't it? How many people here go to church? How many people say this looks exactly like my church? Right. It doesn't look like your church, does it? But this is exactly what it looked like. Well, this is what it looks like now, and that's what it looked like then, fundamentally. But inside that, there were about 300 people who gathered 4 to 5 times a week as part of an organization that's about 2.5 million people in the world today. And they practice these really bizarre beliefs. This is a house that I grew up in. I took this picture recently. You can tell because there's a satellite dish. Heathens are going to hell. This is what will happen to them. So this is where I grew up when we finally did get a house. Now, I tell you all of this because when I left, something important happened. Before I could leave the organization, and I decided to leave on my own because my mother and the rest of my family were getting a lot of pressure because I refused to leave school. I had to come back to church one last time. See, I'd already been conditioned. I'd already been selected. I had already been properly trained to become a minister. I already knew how to recruit people. I knew how to get people to come to this organization, and I knew exactly how to cause the fear of God in any person who came near me. And so they expected me to do something, but I didn't do it. Instead, I said, I want to leave. And when I left, I had to go back to church one last time. I came up onto a platform. Deacons, ministers, all laid their hands on me. They prayed to God that he would turn my soul over to Satan for the destruction of my flesh, that I would be killed for my transgressions. A couple times in my life, I thought it might be working. I left the church that day, and I stopped at the Carnegie Public Library. And the Carnegie Public Library had sort of been my refuge for a long time because they never said we couldn't read books. So I stayed in the library consuming every single book I could get my hands on about anything that interested me. And this library was full of all of the wonders of the world and all the potential of the world that I could see. Because what I learned early on is that people who learn more earn more. People who know what it is that they want, who take the time to get as much education as they can about it, who practice their skill. See, there's the biggest lie that you'll ever hear in marketing, and that is you can make an easy buck without working hard. I love people who like that idea because it makes a lot more room for me. You hear what I'm telling you? If you believe that you're going to sit around and earn a bunch of money without doing anything, without working at it, without doing any of the kinds of things or doing the learning, going through the rigor of understanding what you have to do, then applying those learnings, you're absolutely, positively going to put more money in my pocket and less in your own. Is that fair? Yes. Okay. So how many people here want me to have more of the money you should have, or you would like to keep more of your own? Me or you? Me. Right. Exactly. There's only like 3 of you. Okay, here's the thing, guys. This is an interactive presentation. If I see you not participating, I will engage you in meaningful ways.
Be careful, guys.
If I see you twittering, if I see you writing stuff in your notebook, if I see you using technology and not paying attention to me, I will come and I will literally crush your technology. If you don't think me stomping and jumping up and down on your notebook will change the efficiency of your notebook, try me. I've destroyed more than 17 notebooks in the last 2 months. I will not pay you back for your notebook. And here's why. Multitasking is bullshit. You cannot do something else and pay attention to what I'm telling you. So I'm going to make it very simple for you. I'm giving you fair warning. If I see you doing anything with your phones, if I see you doing stuff on your notebooks, I don't care if you're taking notes. You cannot type and pay attention to me at the same time. Here's what I will do though, because I'm a big fan of twittering. I'm a big fan of you guys updating everyone. I'm going to give you exactly 60 seconds right now. Everybody tweet about me and just make sure you put pound JVAL in there. Everybody do your tweets right now, and then I would like you to close your notebooks and phones. 60 seconds beginning now. If you don't have anything better to Twitter, you can write down that Dave Lakhani said multitasking is bullshit. I apologize if you have children in the room. If they're unaccustomed to language like that, you may want to take them out now. If you're offended or unaccustomed to people being truthful and honest with you, you should leave right now too. Fair enough? Because I'm only here to help people who want to help themselves, who want to grow.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't want that, please don't let me waste your time, and please don't waste mine. Because you're sucking up valuable energy and air that other people could use to learn more with. You have about 15 seconds left. Who needs more than 15 seconds to complete your twittering? More than 15? You need more than 15? I still see you typing. I'll wait. While I'm waiting, I'll tell you, there's been a lot of research done in brain science that talks about people who try and multitask. It takes 2 to 3 times longer to refocus your brain on the next thing that you're going to do when you stop in the middle of something or when you're not paying attention to something than it does to complete the process. Complete your processes, then do the next thing. That's one of the big lessons you can take away from here today. I'm not opposed to Twitter. I think it's a great thing, and I'll show you why in just a few minutes. But the point of it is that when you are in an event like this and you want to learn, if your intention is to learn, you've got to stay focused in getting the information, not on hearing one thing and then unfocusing for the next 45 seconds. See, I gave everybody 60 seconds to Twitter. It took most people about 2 to 3 minutes to do it. 2 to 3 minutes, and then it's going to take them about another 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 minutes to go, where was Dave at? What was he talking about? I feel like this is sort of disjointed. Does that make sense? All right, so here's the thing. I'll give you regular breaks along the way of 60 seconds. You can whip open your technology, you can Twitter about me, and then we'll be done, okay? Now, I've also done something very important here, haven't I? Who can you Twitter about? You. Because I'll be checking, and I'll be here tomorrow. And if I don't see Twitters during this time period that are only about me from this room, I will crush your technology. Fair enough? Fair? Yeah. Yes? Yeah. Who thinks I won't crush your technology? You really don't think so, Mary? I will smash that thing to kingdom come. I will break that thing into 1,000 pieces. You better have it backed up, and you better have it closed. Jim, You've been in rooms before when I have absolutely, utterly destroyed people's technology.
I believe them.
I would close it and I wouldn't Twitter if I were you. I like you a lot. You're a sweet person. I will destroy your technology. Packaging plus positioning equals desire. A key thing that you'll learn today is that how you package something and how you position it for people is what will cause them to be desired. You heard us talk a lot about that earlier on the hot seat, right? People weren't talking about here's 3 different tactics that you can use to sell more books. What they were really saying is you've got to be interesting to people. You've got to put this together in a way that people see it as something that's invaluable to them, something that they can't live without, right? Because if they can't live without it, they become desirous. See, even in the worst economies of the world, when people are desirous of something, they still buy it. But the problem happens when people decide that, well, I think I'll just do a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Joe Sugarman, how are you? If you guys don't know Joe Sugarman, here's a guy that knows more about positioning and packaging than anyone in the world. Living today, a living legend in the room with you, you need to get to know him. Positioning plus packaging equals desire, and a desire, this is nice. Wow, we get to go back to the beginning. You guys ready? All right, a desire is a buyer. When you create intense desire, people will buy from you. What you have to think about, if you're a speaker, if you're a trainer, if you're an author, if you're an internet marketer, if you're an offline marketer, if you're doing fusion marketing, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you don't package things in a way that cause people to be intensely interested in what you're doing, intensely interested in what you're selling, find themselves, putting themselves in the position of your copy of saying, I have to have this, this is me, wow, this is the thing that's happened to me. I've got to have this solution. If you don't do that, people are not going to buy anything from you. And here's the worst thing of all. It's not people who tell you no. How many people think that kind of sucks when people tell you no in your marketing? No. It's the people who say maybe. Those people are the worst. Yeah. Ambivalence doesn't do anything for you. When you create ambivalence, all you do is create people who extend the buying process, extend the timeline of how long it takes for them to ultimately buy something to you. You have to be seen to sell. This is the most important key thing I'll leave you with today. Write this down. You have to be seen to sell. Most of you here are invisible. Most of the people in this room are completely and utterly invisible. You walk through the halls of the hotel, nobody knows who you are. You Twitter, and your 7 friends follow you, and they think that's really neat. You get on Facebook, and nobody friends you, or they just friend you because they think a bigger number equals more power. You're unknown. Let me tell you something. People only buy things from people that they know will do something for them, they know something about. And I'll tell you something else. I talked about polarization a little bit earlier when we were talking. Only polarized people buy things. How many people here find some of the things already that I've said sort of offensive and you kind of question yourself? Excellent. Willie Crawford, I'm particularly proud of you. Do you think I really care? No. I don't, because I love Willie. He's a good guy. The point is, though, is that I want those people who are, I don't know about Dave, I don't know if I like him. I want them to get to the place of I don't like him really fast. Because guess what? Even those people will go back and they'll say, this Dave Lakhani guy said all these crazy things, and all they're doing is helping me spread a polarizing message that caused more people to fall down on my side. All right? Only polarized people buy things. You have to be seen to sell. You can't polarize people in your closet. Okay? I mean, maybe you can, but only the number of people you can get in your closet. And some of you shouldn't be there anyway. So here's the current state of the personal development marketplace. I'm going to share one marketplace with you because how many people here sell a personal development related product? Sure. You sell something related to weight loss, you sell something related to personal coaching, doing better. How many people do something like that? Great. You'll find this very interesting, I think. The self-improvement industry by the numbers. According to the Market Data Enterprises market report, the U.S. self-improvement market is worth $10.5 billion. Seems like a small amount compared to an economic bailout, but $10.5 million is a lot of money. Or billion, I'm sorry. The anticipated growth is 11.4% through 2010 to 13.9 billion. The top 12 speakers, including Franklin Covey, Tony Robbins, Mark Victor Hansen, grossed over $303 million last year. Pikers, really. Yeah. Out of a $10 billion marketplace, and they only grossed $300 million of that. There's huge opportunity in that market. Roughly 25,000 personal coaches now work in the US. The market's worth about $1.5 billion, growing rapidly. Americans spent a whopping $668 million on self-help books in 2005, a 44% increase over the last 10 years. Here's what people are spending their money on. General, motivational, spiritual, and self-help. How many people sell something in that arena? General, motivation, spiritual, or self-help. $4 billion market. How about business or financial? How many people here sell business or financial information? Only $1 billion market. Stress management. Anybody do that? $385 million market. How about weight loss? Anybody here doing weight loss? Couple people, $1.2 billion market. How about exercise? Anybody do anything around exercise or fitness? Another $1 billion market. So I'm already getting my part of this. I spend a lot of time getting a big chunk of this money. How many people here would like to have a little piece of it? May I show you how you can get more and more consistently from all of the people that you sell to?
Yes.
Great. I'm going to tell you why most speakers fail, but if you cross out speakers and put marketers, this will apply. They don't have a profitable business model. Most people here say, this is my model. And depending on what day you ask them, or even what time in the same day you ask them, they can sure run out a lot of words. They can say a lot of things. But if you ask them to consistently write out their business model or diagram it for you or draw it out, it looks different every time. Because somebody came up and told them something really cool. Hey, let me tell you about this really cool thing, Helen. Did you know, I mean, have you really paid attention to what's going on in pay-per-click right now? Did you know you could probably double or triple your business by doing 3 simple things in pay-per-click?
No idea.
You didn't know that? I'm going to show you the 3 things that you can do because they will transform who you are. Now, he's going to go back and in his business model, next time he's going to go, and pay-per-click. That's not a model. Those are tactics. A model is, what is the process that I'm going to use to systematically get people from the top end of my funnel through the bottom end of my funnel and in perpetuity buy stuff from me? How am I going to get them forever to buy things from me on and on and on, over and over and over again? How am I going to get them so compelled that they can, in fact, spend more time with me, with their wallets open, than they do anyone else? That's what we're going to do. I'm going to make one very big exception here because I already made one very big point with Mari. I'm going to allow her to be the one who Twitters this, Facebooks it, and that kind of thing, because it's a big part of her brand and who she is, and I know that it's really hurting her to not do it, and I'm going to allow it. Thanks. Well, here's why you're not getting your part right now. Because you don't know how to profitably persuade the masses. Most people don't. Most people go through life saying, listen, if I just say a lot of things or I do a lot of things. See, here's the thing. It never ceases to amaze me that when people do a technique to someone, when they do a thing, they go, yeah, I was being persuasive. Techniques don't persuade people. Techniques are learnable, and you can just, defend yourself against them. If I teach you 7 simple processes, if I teach you how to walk up, shake someone's hand, hold your hand in exactly the right position, touch them in the right spot, and I demonstrate that to 100 people in this room, and then you go out and demonstrate it to 50 of your friends who go out and demonstrate it to 25 of their friends who go out and demonstrate it to 25 of their friends, within just a couple of months, the technique's blown. It doesn't work that much anymore because people go, oh, you're doing that one thing. I heard about that. I see what you're doing. I know what you're doing when you turn the form around and slide it to me, right? Because that's really what you're doing is sliding it to me, right? The form is what I'm talking about. So here's the fastest road to success in speaking or marketing. Invest time in learning a profitable model. You need to pick a model that works for you. You need to pick a model that's going to last for you for a long period of time. You need to follow that model consistently. There are a lot of people here who have great models that work really well. Some of those people are even willing to teach you their model. And when you begin to learn those models, how many people here, at least fundamentally speak and read the human language, the universal English language? Good. Even people who are not from here, who speak English, sitting in this room today, went through some process of beginning to learn it. My daughter's 4 years old, and right now she is learning how to read. So she's beginning to learn by learning a systematic, fundamental series of steps that she can repeat over and over and over to get similar results. At the end of the day, because she learns little mnemonic devices like when you read, instead of going each letter at a time, you keep your motor running. You sound out your words. She begins to learn how to do that. When she begins to learn how to do that, she can do it with 3-letter words, now 4-letter words, now 6 or 10-letter words. By the time she's out of kindergarten, by following this process, she'll be able to read and comprehend about 80% of the English language. at the end of kindergarten. That's more than, many people walking around. But the point of the matter is that she's learning this process systematically. She's applying the model that she learns to every bit of the language she experiences. And when you apply the model to every bit of the information you experience, you begin to see, is this supportive of my model, or is this some sort of an aberration that I need to either kick out, or I need to see where this exception is, because there are even exceptions in our language, right? Some letters don't make the sounds that they should all of the time. And so the same thing is true. If this is a very important thing that I need to do, I need to learn how to persuade people. I need to learn how to get people to do more of what I want to do. I have to provide the model all the time. But here's what people will say. I like having my own little personality. I like doing it my way. I like to add my own little flavor and spice into that. And that's great. But you're not Wolfgang Puck. So here's the thing. You've got to take this model and you have to mold yourself to fit the model. You have to do the things consistently over and over again that get you the results that you want. Now, there are people who come to me all the time, they go, gosh, Dave, that's a great idea. You've taught me how to do these things, but I'm just going to go do it my way. I'm like, great. And I see them a few months later, and they're going, yeah, I'm just not making that much money. And I'm like, great. When are you going to get back to the process? When are you going to get back to following the model? Here's 5 persuasive tactics any world-class persuader will use, and that you can and should be using in all of your marketing, all of your speaking, all of your interactions with people. Number 1. Tell a persuasive story. See, storytelling is one of the most powerful things you can do. And I want you to write down this word, story selling, because that's virtually what every one of us are doing. We're telling a story, and we're selling an idea. We're giving people an idea that something may be true. Storytelling is important because stories are our oldest form of communication. They go in under our conscious radar. They cause people to pay attention to us. They cause people to listen to what we have to say and interact with us differently. They cause people to just think, because we've learned at a very early age how to tell stories. We've learned at a very early age how to listen to stories. If you're anything like me, your parents probably grew up in the same town mine did. They probably both walked uphill both ways to school in 6 feet of snow in the middle of the summer all year round. Barefoot. That's right. Naked, because all they had was loincloths. But, our parents had it tougher than us. So you tell a persuasive story, though, but your parents also, probably some of your earliest memories are sitting with your parents, sitting down to them, having them read you a book, or talk to you about your family history, talk to you about where you've come from and what you're doing. See, we get conditioned, and I want you to write down the word conditioned, because we all get conditioned throughout our lives around certain areas. Persuasion is one of those things. We get conditioned to believe some ideas are true and some ideas are not true, whether they are or not. And so as you understand what people's beliefs are by observing their behaviors, you understand their conditioning. And as you understand their conditioning, you can then create tactics, you can begin to create models, you can begin to create strategies that allow you to take advantage of that conditioning. So how many people here would love to take advantage of more people's conditioning? Storytelling is one way to do that. So when you go from saying, I have this how many people here have ever bought a used car? All right, how many people have a belief about how a used car, how many people here, is anybody in the market for a car right now? You're going to buy a car in the next little while? Okay, good, excellent. You're going to buy a car in the next little while? Let me just ask if this experience is sort of like what you expect. Are you going to buy a new car or a used car?
I think we're probably going to buy a new car.
You think you're going to probably buy a new car? I'm Dave. You're an insane man if you buy a new car. I want to tell you right now. See, in this economy, nobody buys a new car because new cars are not a good deal. New cars are the worst thing that you can do. Right now, you want to buy a used car. Sir, you want to buy, what kind of a car you want?
Volvo.
A Volvo. Volvos are for like yuppies and people like that. Sir, where do you live?
I live, I don't know if I want to tell you.
Yeah, well,
Florida.
Florida. There's no yuppies in Florida. What you need, my friend, is the brand new Escalade. The Escalade will fit a man like you. You're not a Volvo man. I can tell that from your size. Look at me. I don't fit in a Volvo either. There's no shame in acknowledging the truth, sir. We're big men. We're powerful men. We're in control of our destinies. And you're not a Volvo man. You are an Escalade man. A man who can climb up into an Escalade, a man who can sit there and control the road from the seat of his iron chariot and be in his domain at any given time. You, sir, are not a Volvo man. I mean, you might be a Volvo man, or woman, whatever, but I don't think that you're going to be for very long. So, how much money do you need to spend?
20 grand.
20 grand, 20 grand, 20 grand. What do you do for a living, sir?
Internet marketing.
You're an internet marketer and you're going to spend 20 grand on a car. I know people who spend 20 grand who are internet marketers on the seats in their cars. You want to spend 20 grand on a car? You can't even buy the wheels on a Volvo for 20 grand. You can't even buy the spinners that are going to go on the side of your Escalade for 20 grand. So tell me exactly what it is that you're going to do. You're going to begin thinking about something different, aren't you? Yes, because I've got the car for you. This car probably will cost you between $70,000 and $80,000, but let me tell you what it'll get for you. Oh, it'll get you things that you've never imagined in your life, sir. Have you ever liked to drive down the road and have women turn their heads, look at you? Doesn't matter if they're looking at you. They're looking at your car. It doesn't matter. What matters is they're looking in your direction, right? Yes, yes, of course it is. You'd like to get laid again in your life, wouldn't you, sir? This car will do that for you as well, because these women will be instantly attracted to a man who can afford an $80,000 car, $80,000 Escalade. I don't know. I haven't seen that many women jumping off the curbs into Volvos lately. But you do what you like. It's your life. Lose it how you will. Isn't that sort of how it goes? I mean, these guys know exactly what you need. They're going to be happy to tell you exactly what it is that you need. They're going to harangue you. They're going to push you. They're going to belittle you until you finally do whatever it is that they want. Or you could just say something different. So tell me why you chose a Volvo.
My wife wouldn't let me get an Escalade.
Sir, go get your wife's purse. I'll help you out. The point of the matter, no, seriously though, why do you want a Volvo?
They're safe. I have kids.
You have kids and that kind of thing, right? Now, see, what he's buying into is this idea that Volvos are the safest car, because Volvo tells that story over and over again, right? They tell you their cars are the safest cars, and they even go so far as to say they're not the prettiest cars on the market.
Sure.
But they're the safest. If you get an Impact, you want to be in a Volvo. You don't want to be in a, trust me, you don't want to be in something else, unless it's an Escalade, of course, because they're taller and they crush Volvo. But anyway, no, I'm kidding. The point is, though, they tell this story over and over again, and they tell stories like that. If you have children and you want to protect the safety of your children, which is another story, right? Because as soon as you become a dad, what's the first story you immediately assume? You assume the story of being a protector of a child. I have to do I mean, how many people here have children? And remember your first child. When you drove that child home, did you hit the gas, go tearing out of the driveway, flying down the road as fast as you? No. You're probably driving like 7. Looking around, making sure nobody was near you. Don't get close to you. You people follow way too close. 3 car lengths minimum, right? But you're buying into this idea that now I've suddenly got this big responsibility, and with big responsibilities come different choices than I've ever made before, including the kind of car that I buy. So when you begin to tell stories that elicit people's conditioning, which he's just admitted, I'm conditioned towards a Volvo because my conditioning is around safety. I have to protect the safety of my children, and the only way to do that is with a Volvo. And so he begins looking at that kind of a car. Now, being really honest, if you weren't concerned about the safety of your children or you didn't have children, would you buy a Volvo?
Probably not.
Why not?
Because I truly wanted an Escalade. For a lot of the reasons you listed.
Exactly. So, right. And so it wouldn't be that hard probably now. Now, if I know that, because now he's just giving me some other valuable information, hasn't he? Right. He's making one choice, but he would really like to make another. But he can make both. That's right. Exactly. Because we can just demonstrate to him how safe Escalades really are. We can demonstrate to him by moving his children up 4 feet off the ground, and by protecting them with more metal, with air safety bags, curtain airbags on the sides of the Escalade, by creating a bigger buffer of crush zone and space around his children, he's actually being much safer. Because in an impact, a car that's taller typically wins in the impact against a car that's shorter.
And it'll knock out those women who jumped in before the kids.
That's right. That's right. You can hold more of them. They can even take care of your children. I don't know. The point is that as you begin to tell these new stories and you start story selling, you incorporate people's ideas. You incorporate their conditioning. You incorporate what it is that they already believe. You begin to take advantage of their behaviors. Because as you do that, people just stop and they don't, because see, if I were to say, listen, here's the thing. You know, an Escalade weighs 7,500 pounds. It's, you can get them in 13 different colors. It has an unlimited choice of wheel selections. You know, it's got leather seats. You can have heated in the front, heated in the back, heated in the front and back. All those do, they just become comparisons one against the other. And those kind of things rarely work that well. You know, I mean, if you're comparing truly apples to apples, it's one thing. But he's not comparing apples to apples. He's comparing the safety of his children to anything. And as he continues to compare the safety of his children, you have to tell a different story. You have to get him thinking about a different story. You know, once you put his child in an Escalade and you get out a ruler and you show him how much more distance there is from the center of the seat to the door, and tell him how much harder a car would have to hit it to actually get there, it begins to make a whole different story. But all you're doing is just transitioning into what his behaviors are, because he's now demonstrated his behavior as he's concerned about his children. Stories are our oldest form of communication. I've already talked about that. They go in under our conscious radar and cause people to be attentive and curious. How many people here went, when I started talking about growing up in a cult, how many people, other than the other guy that grew up in a cult here, who went, oh yeah, heard that, yeah, been there, done it, yeah, growing up in cults kind of sucked, but already done it. No, most people go, wow, that's interesting. Did you just say you grew up in a cult? I mean, this is how I figured out how to tell this cult story, by the way. It wasn't because I went, I think I'll sit around and figure out a good story to tell about my life. I mean, there's lots of stories I could tell about my life. Just so happened one day, I was telling this story to someone who was talking about having grown up in a very fundamentalist environment. I said, yeah, I grew up in a cult. And I was in a small group of people, and they were all around, and everybody stopped talking and went, did you say you grew up in a cult? And I went, oh, wow. Interesting. Here's how you tell a persuasive story. Step number 1, grab me by the ears. You know what that means, all right, sir? Like this. Just kidding. By the ears, right? You're going to hook me. You got to get me in. You can't, you know, I could have said, well, you know, I grew up in a church that was a little different. It was, you know, they had some odd beliefs and things like that, you know, that some people find them a little curious. It was a little weird, you know. We didn't go to school past 6th grade. I mean, or you can say, listen, I grew up in a cult. And people go, hold on now. That's what we're doing. That's grabbing them by the ears. I bet if you talk to Joe Sugarman, he'll tell you that in a direct response television ad, getting people's attention fairly quickly is important. Is that true, Joe?
Right.
Then you want to lay the foundation, right? You want to lay the foundation. You begin telling the story. You start talking about how you got from where you were at. This is called the hero's journey. If any of you are fans of Joseph Campbell, if any of you have ever watched Star Wars or The Matrix or any of these kind of movies, they all follow this same process. It's using this process of laying this foundation of saying, you know, I started someplace and I went to another place. Who here has something that you absolutely think, you know what, I couldn't tell a story about it no matter what. It's just too complicated or too hard. Does anybody have a product or a service like that, or you just can't think of one of your own? No one. Wow, you people are good. You really have heard me talk a lot. Engage my emotions. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Engaging people's emotions is one of the most powerful things you can do. We see what's happening in an economy right now that really, you know, is only fundamentally being affected in one sector. And yet, it's being affected across all sectors because people's psychology force them to do something else. They hear this terrible news, they listen to the news, and then they say, wow, if this is true, imagine what else might be true. They don't even have the qualification to determine if it might be true or not. They listen to pundits on television, or they listen to other people who make up stories about what may or may not be true in the future, and then they go, yes, that must be true, and then they go tell all their friends, and their friends tell all their friends, and that starts to cause all these dives. But if you engage my emotions in the same way, what are the emotions that people have around marketing, that have around buying things, that have around building their own businesses? What are some of those emotions? Fear. Okay, what else? Distrust. What else? So now, what are those around? Fear and distrust, or what are those around? Marketing or starting a business? Okay, so people have fear and distrust around starting a business. My experience hasn't been quite that. My experience has been that most people who are thinking about starting a business are very excited. They're pretty engaged. They're getting, you know, they're excited by the potential of their future, right? They're not sitting around going, oh, I might fail. They're going, wow, imagine what would happen if. But it's an interesting thing that you brought up, because if your marketing focuses on that idea that, you know, starting a business is tough, and, you know, you may not be able to do it, a bunch of you are going to fail, you know? I mean, could you imagine if Tony Robbins lined everybody up in front of a big giant fire pit and said, 50, 70% of you guys are going to end up with some massive blisters on your feet, but we're going to do this anyway. It'll be really cool. Burning doesn't hurt that bad, right? No, because you're engaging the wrong kind of emotion. You're digging them deeper into that hole of what they're already afraid of. On the other side of it, you're expanding their emotions about what the possibilities might be. How could I do this? How could I be more? How could I achieve more than I've ever believed? How can I finally get, because what do people want who are starting a business or losing weight or who are buying a new car? What is it that they ultimately want? hope, some expression of themselves, right? They have a dream, an idealized way that their life will be because of this. And to the extent that you can present something that allows them to see that as being a possibility using your information is the extent to which you get them to buy more. You layer on the proof. This is very important. Most people, again, don't do this. I don't know how many web pages I've gone to where people have really wonderful products and they never ever say, look what somebody else did. They did this too. 75%, even the American Dental Association gets behind proof. 9 out of 10 dentists say that this product is the best one you can get. By the way, can I talk for just a minute about a person named Edward Bernays? How many people here have ever had a bacon and eggs breakfast? Healthy bacon and eggs breakfast, right? All right, so how many have ever heard that bacon and eggs, healthy breakfast? Well, here's how Edward Bernays got all of the doctors, not 9 out of 10, all of them, to say having a bacon and eggs breakfast is healthy. Now, this was in the early 1900s. He went around and he asked doctors a very simple question. The question was, if you had to talk to your patients and tell them not to eat breakfast or eat a healthy bacon and eggs breakfast, what would you tell them to do? They would say, well, I would tell them to eat a healthy bacon and eggs breakfast. You should start your day out with some food. Great. 10 out of 10 doctors say you should eat a healthy bacon and eggs breakfast. Now, almost no one really ate breakfast then. Or if they did, they ate like rolls and things in the early 1900s. They didn't eat big breakfast with eggs and meat and milk and all those kind of things. But he went around and started publicizing this. Doctors say you should do this. Doctors heard it too, and they went, wow, other doctors know this? That must be true. And then they began telling the story, and they began passing it on and on and on. And now today, more and more of you are dying from heart-related diseases than ever because you eat healthy bacon and egg breakfasts. And other kinds of things. But the reality of it is that once that story becomes true, people pass it on with evangelistic fervor. They'll tell you how many people here have ever had, here's a great one. How many people here have children? How many people have ever told your kids, put on a hat before you go outside, you lose about 90% of your heat through your head? If you have a haircut like Dave, maybe 98%, something like that, right? How many of your parents told you that? All right. This is a very simple test, but nobody will do it with me. All we have to do is go out, I'll be the moderator, I'll be the facilitator, and all we need to do is we're all going to meet in Minneapolis at the end of January, right next, someplace nice, in a park maybe, or some other pristine setting. You will all be nude, except for a hat. Now, you should be able to stand there for quite some time. A really long time if you're only losing, if you're only losing 10% from the rest of your body, right? But see, people don't think rationally like that. When I say that, everybody goes, well, of course not. You'd freeze to death in no time, But the reality of it is you go through life believing it and then you pass it on to your children because it sounds so good. And that's what happens when stories become real, they are. And it's that simple. People pass them on as if they're true. That's why people buy the brands that they buy. That's why they do the things that they do consistently, and why they don't do the things that they do consistently. And when you layer on proof, like getting a scientist to say, it's true, 95% of the heat through your head, wear a hat. All you have to do is get one crazy whack job scientist to say that, and it becomes even more true. Then you answer my questions. How many people here honestly can say, I already know probably 90 to 95% of the questions people have about buying my product or service? They all have roughly the same questions at the end of the day when they get down to the time to buy. If they have any resistance left, they probably have the same set of questions. Does everybody know that? Okay? If you don't, I only saw 2 or 3 people raise your hand, so if you're not raising your hand because you're just not participating, you're missing out on some good opportunity here. The reality of it is that you should all be able to predict at the end of the funnel when people are about to buy or not buy from you what questions they have left. Because if you listen to people as they describe their resistance tends to be categorized into probably 5 to 7 questions. And if you know what their questions are in advance, then you've got to preemptively answer their questions. Because when you preemptively answer their questions, you seem almost psychic. And you also seem like someone who you really want a relationship with. How many people here have ever walked into a store after you've been searching for something for a really long time? You walk in, you start talking to a salesperson. That salesperson answers all of your questions, seems to know what you're thinking before you ask it, starts some of that. How do you feel about that person? Really good, right? Very favorable, right? You want to do more with that person. So the result is, you go, wow, this is somebody I can trust. And even if you leave, Nobody else does that because now you've got this deepened relationship with this one person. This person seems honest and trustworthy because he was able to predict what it is that I was concerned about. So when you can predict people's concern, you can control their outcome. You can control what they get to make themselves feel better. So nobody here has a difficult story that you'd like me to help you create your story for very quickly. Yes, come on up. You have a microphone, please? So I know Pam's name, and that's about the extent of what I know about her.
You know a little more than that.
A little bit, but not a whole lot
You
more.
know that I can create controversy.
You can't create controversy.
All right. What I would love some help with is my story of how I explain what I do.
Okay, great. So she wants help with explaining what she does. So tell me what you do.
All right. So you have to be neutral. So I have a gift that removes negative conditioning. So we've been talking about the mindset and all that.
Right.
And I have a gift that removes that, and I do it very quickly and effortlessly on the part of the people that are the recipients.
Okay, great. Does anybody know what in the hell she really does?
Exactly. That's my point.
Right.
That's why I need
Or even
help.
if it is a gift,
Right.
right? Or anything.
Or if it's a curse.
Tell me, right, or
Yeah.
a curse or whatever. So tell me how you, tell me what that really means in practical terms.
Right, so what it means in practical terms is, let's say that you're struggling with something, negative thoughts that are going through your head, or past trauma, or people have things like addictions or obsessive compulsive, a lot of different outcomes of that. It might just be those nagging thought that, hey, this internet marketing stuff isn't going to work. And I'm able to shift that. I call it thought shifting for people, so that without going through a technique of hypnosis or EFT or anything like that, I'm able to get to the root of where that originated and then be able to get rid of that for people.
Okay. How did you discover it?
Well, it was quite by accident. I was doing corporate turnarounds for companies, and so I realized I was coaching people, and I went out on my own as a coach. And I just found it to be painfully slow. I felt that I was pulling teeth, trying to help people with issues one by one. And I was looking for a faster way. And I ran across, it's a little long story, that's why it's hard for me to explain it. I ran across a machine that Mari and I, that's where we met, that was supposed to remove the negative conditioning. And at a certain point, I realized that it was me and not the machine. And people kept telling me.
That it was you that was removing the negative conditioning,
not the machine. And
You were using the machine on yourself or
I was
other
using the
people?
machine on other people.
Okay.
And I was measuring.
How did you discover that?
How I discovered it was, I had my own negative conditioning. I was working with people, and I was having a hard time raising my price to what I charged my normal clients that weren't supposedly getting this better service. And other people were charging more for these sessions with this machine. And I said, when I get underneath the covers of it, it's going to be a big deal. And what I discovered was I could do things in 5 minutes, get rid of things that was taking other people 3 years with that machine. And I felt guilty because it was so easy.
Okay.
And that was negative conditioning, and I got rid of that. The idea that it wasn't okay for me to do it effortlessly, and I received, I want to call it like divinely, this recipe to remove it all, still thinking it was the machine, and then I forgot to turn the machine on for somebody, and I found out it was me.
Okay, good. And so then as a result of having learned all of that, what's happened since?
So what's happened since is it really freed me up to be able to do the work without the constraints of the machine or these little blood samples I took from people and stuff like that. And I've been able to work with people remotely all over the world to be able to remove things and have them tell me stories like, hey, I was raped when I was a teenager and it's gone, and nothing's ever gotten rid of that. I didn't think I'd be free of that, for example. People tell me stories like I had an addiction and it's gone.
And what's the outcome for the people?
The outcome for the people is that they feel freed up.
Yeah.
So things that they've struggled with, that they've tried a lot of different methods, or it seems like it's taking too long, that they're able to quickly be free of that.
Okay, and so what problem presents itself when they first come to you?
I get a wide variety. It might be people that have relationships, it might be business, money, it might be addictions, it might be eating disorders, emotional eating.
Is it fair to say that there are things that they probably struggled with most of their life and haven't found a solution for?
Yeah, it depends. Or sometimes it's things where it's just come to a head.
Okay.
And now because it's just come to a head, now they're willing to go and look for help and maybe look at something like what I do that maybe isn't well known at the moment.
Good, okay, great.
Okay.
May I retell your story?
You may.
Okay, great. So a lot of times when clients come to me, they ask me, what do I do? And it's very difficult to explain, but the best way I can describe it is that I'm a thought shifter. I allow people to create new sorts of thoughts out of old stuck problems and thoughts that have existed in themselves, sometimes all of their lives, or often that have just come to a head. So have you ever been in a place in your life where you've suddenly felt like I'm at a I'm at an impasse. I can't do anything different. I'm stuck and I don't know where to go. Has that ever happened to anybody here?
Sure.
Right, absolutely. And so when people get to that place, they turn to all kinds of things. They turn to hypnosis. They turn to things like NLP. They turn to things like meditation. They turn to things like biofeedback mechanisms or any other number of sort of kind of processes that would allow them to change. And my experience has been that change happens internally, not from an external device. And what I've found is that by discussing these things with people, talking to them, and demonstrating to them simple things that they can do for themselves that allow them to then release these sort of ideas, problems, fears, expectations that they've had, that they have transformations and breakthroughs faster than they've ever experienced before. Now, I developed this technology myself. Now if you want to be really polarizing, you say, I developed this technology myself because I received some sort of divine information, or I received some piece of information, some guidance, whatever it is, and it allows me to then project myself into your problems and help you solve them most quickly. I can help you solve problems much more quickly. Or if you want to hit a wider audience, you just say, I developed this technology in a way that's accessible to everyone. And the technology isn't widely experienced yet because I'm just now releasing it to the marketplace. So what I'll do is I'll sit down with you and I'll demonstrate to you how faster than you ever imagined possible you can overcome these results. This thought shifting process is something that virtually every one of us know how to do, except that we don't have a complete grasp on how to get it out when we need it most. And so I'm going to give you a tool set that will allow you to do this anytime you want. I'm going to assist you. I'm going to walk you through this process. So step by step, systematically, you end up being wherever it is that you want to be. And you'll be able to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. And as a result of that, you'll get the results that have always eluded you. So you no longer have to feel this stuck place or being stymied forever. You simply will sit down. I'll demonstrate to you a series of techniques that will move you through a level of psychological experiences that will cause those things to be evaporated and collapsed forever. How many people here would not mind getting rid of some of those things?
Sure.
Yeah, good. That's it.
Can I
Make
ask one more
sense?
question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the process is actually simpler. I don't actually walk them through anything other than some education about it, and that's part of the difficulty.
You don't have to tell them that.
Okay. So just don't explain.
Where this has to work.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
You don't have to tell them what you don't have. See, do you really fully understand how the code of Microsoft Windows works? Right.
And do I want to? No.
Not really. You just want to know that when you boot up your computer that it comes on and that you'll
Right.
get the things done that you want to get done.
Right.
So as you talk them through the processes of your technology, then you just do it.
Okay. And then eventually they may say, hey, how you doing that or whatever. But you want to get them
Up
to
to you.
raise their hand.
That's just one way. That's just one way. That's one potential story from someone who said in the beginning something that none of us understood.
Right.
Right now, at least we're in a place where we go, yeah, I could do that. Okay?
Okay, cool.
All right, cool.
Thanks.
Number 2, develop a persuasive persona. Nicely done, thank you. Develop a persuasive persona. A persuasive persona is being something to someone that appears to be real, right? As opposed to being something to someone that appears to be invisible. Most of us walk through life being invisible. We don't take the time to embody what it is that we're selling or what it is that we're promoting. So if you are a person who is an expert at starting businesses, you don't walk around going, well, I've started a lot of businesses and that kind of thing. When people talk about business, you say, look, here's the 3 things that you need to do. You present yourself in a certain way. You talk in a certain way. Now, if I walk into a room and most people are dressed in business casual and I'm dressed like this, all the other people are CEOs and I'm not, and somebody walks in the room who doesn't know us, who do they assume is in charge?
Sure.
Me. Because what I'm doing is I'm preemptively setting up to people's expectations. People have an expectation of who I might be. People have an expectation of what someone might be like. And so I don't want to do a whole lot of selling you on the idea that I might not be an expert or professional or anything else. What I want to do is walk in and have you go, oh, that's the guy I've got to pay attention to.
Right.
That's it. Because when you do anything else, you're taking away from the rest of the message. So developing a persuasive persona is all about dressing properly, using your voice properly, making sure that you've conditioned your audience in a way, and that they've been conditioned in a way that allows them to see you as the obvious leader. That's it. Persona is all about leadership. It's about standing out and being different. Now, do you have to wear a suit to stand out? Absolutely not. But you have to be able to mark yourself out in some way that's significant, that's different than everyone else. There's a woman who's walking around wearing a tiara in here. Have you noticed her? Has anybody noticed her?
Oh, yeah.
Right, she's marked herself out as someone different. And it's almost impossible not to comment or ask about that, isn't it? Right, you're curious about what's the story? Why would you do that? And you want to know. And as a result, you find something out. So you've got to take the time to mark yourself out, make yourself different, and stand out. Persona is also very polarizing in some ways. It allows people to say, yeah, I'm more like that, or I would never be like that. Great. So your appearance is a big one. Here's an unfortunate fact for everyone here. Pretty people make more money than ugly people. Tall people make more money than short people. Skinny people make more money than fat people. Get over it. You know what? It's just the way it is. Now, can you do any of those things? Can you change them? Well, you can certainly lose weight. You can make yourself more beautiful. I found that out in some unfortunate ways before. It's like, holy crap, that's not the same person I saw in the club. Right? So, you can obviously do something different, right? You can make yourself, and this appearance idea is that you do things different so that people can experience you as who they expect you to be. And so you create the appearance of the expectation that they want. Voice and communication skills. You've got to learn how to leverage your voice appropriately. How many people have you heard that go, well, I sort of do like this, and I do some of that, and occasionally I get around to some other things, and they're really unsure, right? How many people want to buy something from somebody who's unsure? Who's really unsure of themselves? Well, yeah, you could buy this or you could buy that. Here's the worst thing. I went into Best Buy one time, and I wanted to buy DVDs. And I walked in, there's like 12 boxes of DVDs. There's plus, there's minus, there's plus and minus, there's all this stuff, right? And this was when DVDs were fairly new, and I was still unsure. So I walk in, and I grab a box of DVDs, and I think I have them, and the salesman walks up, he goes, can I help you? I said, yeah, I'm looking for some DVDs. And he goes, great. What are you looking for? I said, well, I think I'm looking for the plus kind. And he goes, great. I said, I just want to know, these are like 5 different prices, what's the difference in the DVDs? And he goes, well, these are gold-plated, they're plus, and he's just reading right off of the box, right? And then he grabs another box and he goes, and these are, and he starts reading off the box. Now, the only way to make that conversation more ridiculous is if I was just having it with myself. And so, had he though walked up and just said, hey, listen, here's the thing that you need right here. This is it, here's why. That simple, we would have been done, and I would have been buying the most expensive DVDs that he had probably. But that's not what he did. And that's all people are looking for. See, people don't want much from you. They want very little, in fact, but here's what they do want. They just want you to tell them what to do and make them feel safe and good about doing it. And yet most of you are unwilling to have the courage to tell people exactly what to do. You want to give them choices. You want to make it, well, you know what, we want to give you some flexibility. We want to make sure, see, this is a great thing I learned in a cult. A lack of flexibility encourages people to do more of the same thing. So when you tell people this is what you have to do, they go, okay, and then they go do it, and then they go tell their friends, this is what you have to do. Why? Because the guy who really knows about what you have to do said this is what you have to do. Yes. And they go, okay, and then they just buy. See, everybody likes to think that we're these really complex creatures that have all these wide decisions that we can make and that kind of thing, but it's not true. We're all, including me, victims of our own conditioning. And I tend to believe people who I see as being believable. I tend to believe people who have behaviors like mine. And your clients will too. So if you want to be more persuasive, start telling more people what to do. Positioning and presentation. This is the other thing that people often miss. You have to present your information to an audience that wants to hear it. Message to market match is the biggest key to long-term profitability that any business can use. Message to market match equals massive profits. So you've got to position and you have to present in a way that people say, yes, you need to find an audience that already is raising their hand and saying, yes, I'm interested in that. And then you need to present something to them that allows them to say, absolutely. That is exactly what I want. That's going to fulfill my needs. It's going to help me throw rocks at people who hate me. It's going to help me become slimmer, more beautiful. It's going to help me become richer. There's only 3 things that people want to buy. May I share those with you? It's very simple. There's only 3 things people want in life, 3 only. Anybody know what they are?
Money, sex, and power.
They want to get laid, they want to get paid, and they want to live forever. That's the 3 things that everybody wants in life. How many people here does not want one of those things? How many people want more than one of them? How many people wouldn't mind all 3? Right. So that's the thing. People want to live forever. They want to have health, right? They want to have money. They want to be able to live a good life because they have money. And they want to have effective relationships with other people around them. They want to have love in their lives. That's what they want. If you can cover one or more of those areas in your marketing, in your presentation, and demonstrate how they're going to get one of those outcomes, you've done a really good job and most people will buy from you. You have to control your audience. This is one of the things that people make a big mistake about. How many people here, before I do this, I know a lot of you are already like having thumb reactions. I'm going to give you exactly 60 seconds to Twitter your most important idea. Go ahead. While we're doing that, I'm going to show you why Twitter is so important, if you don't mind. Why having a conditioned audience is really important. I'm going to send out a tweet right now, and I'm going to ask anybody to call me. And I'm just some of the people who follow me on my list, and let's just see how long it takes for someone. And if you're already on Twitter in this room, please don't call. Someone to call me. Because see, this is how fast conditioned people respond to a message that you send. When they have an expectation that something may occur, they do it fairly quickly. So let's just see how long it takes while you're finishing your tweets.
Did you send your number? Or did they have to already come?
No, he sent the number.
No, I sent the number.
Wow.
So we'll see how long it takes. So it's been less than 30 seconds so far, around 30 seconds.
How many followers do you have?
A couple thousand. Let's see.
At Blog World.
This could be really bad. Maybe nobody will like it. Maybe people have all been tweeting, don't ever, ever, ever be in the same audience with Dave Lakhani. He's a freak of nature.
Somebody tweeted at Blog World that they were cold and I had a shawl, and within about 2 minutes, they came over to the room and got my shawl.
Okay. It's beautiful. I mean, that's a great example. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every place that I go now, if I need restaurant recommendations and stuff, it's 5 minutes or less, and you've got 4 or 5 excellent restaurant recommendations. Now, I don't. Somebody, well, you saw it though, right? You saw the tweet.
Yeah, I saw
Okay,
it.
got it. So,
It says 1 minute.
There it goes, there it goes. And the grand prize goes to?
hi, it's Dave Lakhani.
Hey Dave, I just saw your joy number on Twitter.
Awesome. Who is this?
What does that mean?
Who is this?
Well, Mari Smith knows me as Patty with an I.
Oh, Patty with an eye.
Patty with an I. Do you know Patty with Mari Smith? I'm within easy seeing distance of Mari. Do you know Patty with an I?
I know Patty with an eye.
Oh, there's somebody else that knows you too. She doesn't have as nice of things to say as Mari.
That's not fair, spirit coach.
So I'm demonstrating the power of Twitter and how quickly people will respond to you. And it took about 1.5 minutes for you to actually make this phone call. From the time that I sent the tweet until the time that you got it.
Chow mein right now, and I just have to sit down and check some tweets, and there it was.
There it was. Okay, excellent. So here's what I want you to do. Do you have a pen next to you?
Yeah, I do.
Write down 208
Okay.
323 2653.
Wait a minute, 208, the one that I just called, you mean?
No, 208 323 2653.
Okay.
And call my assistant Laura. Her extension is 801.
Okay.
And tell her that you won a copy of any of my books that you choose. And then she'll tell you what they are.
Heart, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I always love it when people bless my heart.
Oh.
You want to bless anything else before I go?
No, you good guys. I watched a little bit of the Ustream stuff last night. You
Excellent.
guys keep having a good time.
Thanks, Patty with an I. Bye-bye.
Righty, bye-bye now.
Okay. So you see how quickly people are conditioned to respond to things. They just do whatever they expect is the most appropriate thing for them to do. And as you condition your audience, they begin to pay more attention. So why do I do something like that? Why would I give somebody a free book? What am I really conditioning my audience to do, though?
Respond.
Respond. What else? Believe me. What else?
Think you're a good guy.
Start watching me. That's the biggest thing. I'm conditioning them. You've got to pay attention to Dave because he gives away free stuff all the time. So constantly pay attention to his tweets. And guess what? People respond quickly then when I send something out. Now, I'll tell you a good example. How many people, I'm going to give you another little tool you can use here. BudURL, BUDURL.com. It's a URL shortening device that has analytics at a very detailed level on the back end of it, and it's free. You just sign up for a free account, you can track it. So here's what I know now. I test all of my promotions that I'm going to do on Twitter first, and I can see how many people are clicking through and how many are converting. Because people follow me so tightly, they automatically go to these links that I do now. And as a result of that, I have a really good idea of what's going to happen anytime I do a promotion, because really, I mean, if you look at it, about 1,500 people is statistically accurate for a good survey of an audience. And so if I'm in front of 2,000 people, and a certain percentage of those people respond, and they start doing a certain kind of thing based on what they've seen, it gives me a lot of information. They also give me great feedback too, like, I don't understand this or that. Great, I can fix all that. If you're not using these tools effectively, you're leaving a lot of marketing dollars on the table, pardon me, and you're not really persuading people as effectively as you can. You have an audience, and Seth Godin calls it a tribe. If you haven't read his new book, Tribe, you should read it. It's a good book. But the point is you have this audience of people who are very eager to do something with you. I'm going to speed up just a little bit because I took a little extra time in the beginning. Be an expert. You can be seen and sell. Everybody here needs to be seen as the expert in their industry. If you're not seen as the expert, people are not going to buy from you, and yet most people won't take the time to position themselves as an expert. They won't take the time to say, yes, I am the most knowledgeable person. Here's the thing. According to a Harvard study, it takes about 1,000 hours of practice to develop expert-level proficiency at anything. If you want to be an expert at marketing, it takes about 1,000 hours of practicing marketing. If you want to be an expert concert pianist, it takes about 1,000 hours of practice. All the kinds of things. If you want to develop fluency in a language, about 1,000 hours of practice. How many people here have been doing what you're doing for at least 1,000 hours? Why aren't you telling people that you're an expert? Why don't you literally say the thing, I am an expert at? I want everybody to say right now, I am an expert at whatever you do. Go with me. I am an expert at marketing. Right. Now, I want you to practice that every time you meet somebody else. What do? I'm an expert at persuasion.
According to one Harvard study.
According to one Harvard study. That's right. It took me about 1,000 hours to figure out that I could say, according to one Harvard study. It took Paulie about 30 seconds. So, why Tyra Banks hates me. May I share with you why Tyra Banks hates me?
Oh, yeah.
I wrote this book, Persuasion, The Art of Getting What You Want. Radar Magazine got hold of me and they said, America's Next Top Model uses cult tactics in their show. And I said, kind of like tee-hee-hee, right. They go, well, would you look and would you give us a, would you take a look at it? And I said, sure. So I get this giant box, like 13 hours of America's Next Top Model, which is about 14 more than I planned to ever watch in my whole life. So I sat down. Now, if you look down here on the right-hand side, you'll see the third thing up from the bottom says The Cult of Tyra Banks. This is where Tyra and I's relationship began to get rocky. America's Next Top Model and America's Supermodel, then this picture here with the little automatons behind her and everything, I think that's where we really got rocky. But The Cult of Tyra, as it turns out, they interviewed two people, me, and they interviewed a PhD who is considered one of the world's leading experts on, he works in academia, one of the leading experts on cult tactics and mind control. In this article, there are all of those paragraphs. In the top article, they mention him, and in one other sentence, they mention him again. The rest of it is all about me. And so the result of this is that I went through all of these tapes, and in fact, they really were doing things. They were doing things like sleep deprivation, food deprivation. They were doing things like pitting each other once against the other. They were setting up hierarchies. They were inducing fake anger. They were doing things like moving people out of a group and causing distance between one set of people versus others. They were doing all these things that are very strict mind control tactics. They were causing them to stay up really late at night. They would make them sit in brightly lit rooms with no exit, without a use of the restroom for long periods of time. They did a lot of things that are, that if we did those things to like prisoners, we would say that's torture, you can't do it. Or we would say that's intentional mind control designed to cause somebody to break down and do other things. But they were doing it here. So as a result of this, I think this is where our relationship really got bad. If you look at the picture on the bottom left there. If you look at that picture, this is they tried to pick the right frame. she's actually screaming at some girl who dared say, maybe you didn't have it as bad as you said you did. And she's trying not to laugh. But in reality, so she's screaming through her laugh. And that was one of the things that I pointed out in here. She's trying so hard not to go, yeah, you're right, you busted me, but I got to be really incensed here. And so I think this is where our relationship went really bad. You see, that's like frame 1, and then that middle one on the right is frame 2. But then she gives up the love very easily. Once she's excommunicated people, once she's pushed them out, she brings them back in, and it's okay, I'm going to take care of you. And then as soon as she does that, bam, she's got them. They're hers forever. So as we told this story, Radar Magazine printed it. But what did this exposure do for me? Well, it added about 300 names to my list in 4 days. How many people wouldn't mind that? Now, this thing still adds names to my list today. It's well over a few thousand now. It generated 2 additional interviews with other magazines because other magazine writers are lazy. They're conditioned to look at other magazines and go, wow, that guy was a pretty good interview, I'll call him. It renewed the interest of a corporate client who wanted me to speak for them. They ultimately hired me and paid me my $30,000 day rate. And I'm most excited by this. It created 17 hate mails from rabid Tyra cultists who said, Tyra's not the devil I am, and I'm coming to your house. You can't say bad things about Tyra Banks. Okay, now I get it. If I'd have said something bad about Oprah, I'm getting run down in a mall parking lot by a minivan. That will happen. But this is Tyra Banks, for God's sake. So why is my book on persuasion more interesting than the other books on persuasion? It's very simple. And that's one thing I've already told you, because I have an interesting and relevant story to tell. And I tell it to an audience that wants to hear it. See, I pick my audiences very careful. There's a good reason that I don't go to religious conventions and tell my story. They're not as interested. Over 70% of the news you see, hear, or read is placed news. Do you understand that? Do you know what placed news means? That means that somebody like me is saying, this is a cool story. I'm going to go feed it out to the media as quick as I can. Editors and writers need this, though. They're desperate for this, and this is how you position yourself as an expert. You go out and say, I'm an expert, because they need stories, they need sources, they need case studies, and they need fresh opinions. They can't use the same people all the time. When you present yourself as an expert and you have something to say, see, the difference between an expert and an amateur is that experts have an opinion and they're willing to share them. So you go out and say, I'm an expert at something, and you're willing to share something that's somewhat polarizing, an opinion that you have, you share it, and the media goes, wow, is that really true? And you say, of course it's true. And it should be, by the way. But you say, of course it's true. I'm an expert at this, I know, and here's what's going to happen. You start predicting what may occur next. Here's why publicity works so well. It's a third-party endorsement. Does everybody recognize that when I give an endorsement of someone else, it makes it much easier to believe that person than when they say it about themselves? Sure. So when I sit on the Today Show with Matt Lauer and he says this is the best book on persuasion that's ever been written, it's not me saying it, it's Matt Lauer saying it. There's a transfer of power. Matt transfers his power with his audience to me. So now everything that I say comes not through the filter of, is Dave trustworthy? It comes through the filter of, Matt introduced me to Dave, so he is trustworthy. Believability, very high. How many people here have ever chosen a restaurant or watched a movie based on a review you've read? Right. Now, if I ask you how many people here believe everything that you see in the media, nobody will raise their hand. But the reality of it is the media impacts you without you even knowing it. You hear something, it sounds right, and you take it on. And here's the other interesting thing. New brain research that's just out recently said the more people hear things or see things, the less likely they are to see them in the future, only to accept them. So what that means is, the more that the more you're conditioned to violence through television, video games, and things like that, the more you see it, the less you notice it, but the more it affects you long term. The same thing is true of marketing. The same thing is true of public relations. You hear something in the media, and you're used to the media hearing these things, you may not consciously say, I accept that or I reject it, but what's happening internally is that you are taking it and saying, yes, it's real. And you have high credibility. How many people here saw me on Donnie Deutsch? Did it change your opinion at all of me? Maybe. If you knew me well, it might not have. If you didn't, for some people it did, though. Here's what happened after Donnie Deutsch. About 3,000 people suddenly sent me emails over the next 3 or 4 days and said, wow, Dave, I didn't realize you'd done all these things. And these are people who have been part of my list or known me for like 2 or 3 years. It increases credibility very high. Here are some profitable places that I've been seen in. Selling Power Magazine, Wall Street Journal, The Today Show, Woman's Day, First, Inc. 500, Maxim Magazine, Investor's Business Daily, My Business, Modern Bride. Before you ask, I was stunning. But here's what all of this means. A full-page ad in Inc. magazine is about $95,000. A full-page ad in InStyle magazine, about $109,000. Fast Company magazine, $66,000. USA Today, a full page, $104,000 a day. Cable television rates average for one network spot on a cheap network, $3,000 to $5,000. So here's the last thing that I want you guys to do. You ready for the long haul? Here we go. Employ the power persuaders. Power persuader number one, social proof. Social proof is best described as monkey see, monkey do. What we want to do is get people to see other people doing what we've already asked you to do. Because when you see other people be successful, you don't have to then ask yourself, will I be successful? Should I be afraid? Can I do this? You just take the example of other people and say, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Hi, I'm Lynn Pierce, the founder of Women's Business Empowerment Summit. And I have to say that Dave Lakhani is the best investment I've ever made. In fact, after just 1 hour of working with Dave and sharing my notes from that call with my husband, he asked me, how much did this cost? And when I told him, his response was, that's the best money you've ever spent. And that may be the only time I ever hear those words coming out of my husband's mouth.
How many of you men here are willing to say that Dave Lakhani is the best money your wives have ever spent? Okay. Here's the other thing, though. People have all of these opportunities to gather social proof, and they never do. How many of you have gotten a spontaneous testimonial from someone and said, God, I wish I had a way of recording that right now. I'd love to have that. Has that ever happened to anybody here? Okay, for less than $200, you can have full video of that at 30 frames per second with one little camera. It's just a Canon SD. The current version, I think, is 1100. They're under $200. This thing with a 2 gigabyte video card and a memory card in here will do about 30 minutes of video. So when somebody has something really cool to say, you just ask them, if you can record it, you pull it out and you start recording. It's that simple. It goes up on your website. It goes up on YouTube. You keep this with you everywhere you go. You never go anywhere without it. I have it with me everywhere I am. Everywhere. Where at? Everywhere. Right. It'll take your spouse about 3 to 4 weeks to get used to having it in bed, but you never know when somebody's going to burst into your room and give you a spontaneous testimonial, and sometimes those are the best ones. So, giving to receive. This is the law of reciprocation. The law of reciprocation says if I give you something, you feel obligated typically to give me something back. How many people here have heard Eben Pagans talk about moving the free line? This is what that's about. When you move the free line, you give people more things, people feel more obligated to do something in return. By giving something preemptively and proactively, you cause people to want to take an action. So when you give somebody a free report for signing up for your email, they're much more likely to sign up for the email. If you give them something before you ask them to buy something, like a self-liquidating offer or whatever it is, you ultimately have the opportunity then to get them to feel like, I should really do something in return. Now, how many people here say, I never feel that way? It's because you're marketers mostly, and you've been inundated with these sort of offers. But the reality of it is, when it happens outside an industry that you are not working in every single day, even by another marketer to you, you don't notice it nearly as much. You know, how many people here have ever taken the free Krispy Kreme donut? When you walk in and they give you this piping hot donut, right? Oh yeah, it doesn't make you want to buy less donuts, right? Exclusivity. Everybody likes to be exclusive. How you can create exclusivity inside of your organization, inside of your offers, make people feel like this is there's only a certain number of people that can have this, or only a certain kind of people qualify, those are the kinds of things that will ultimately allow you to persuade people more, because nobody wants to be part of the masses. Even if the mass is huge, they want it to be an exclusive mass. Harley Davidsons used to be very, very, very exclusive. Now there's Harley owners groups all over the world. There's a mass of people who do that. They're not really exclusive anymore, but they feel exclusive. Sure. So to what extent can you create that feeling of exclusivity inside your organization? Transfer of power and credibility. That same camera that I have in my pocket right now allows me to transfer power and credibility. If someone comes up to me and they say, Dave, I want to promote you to my list. And I say, that's awesome. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to give me your very best piece of information right now on camera so we can use that as part of the promotion. So talk to me about what you found fascinating, valuable, profitable about what I do. Now, forget about that. We're going to use it with their list for a minute. Now that I have this captured, where can I use it? Anywhere I want to, right? So get these kinds of information and keep them with you all the time. So who wants a little bit more? How many people here could use a little bit more money, a little bit more opportunity, a little bit more opportunity to learn? How many people in this room are at my Renegades of Persuasion program? I know there are a few there, right? 2 or 3 people here? Good. So here's the thing.
Hi, my name is Dr. Denise Ariana Nadler. What I've experienced with Dave Lakhani this weekend to a whole other level that you couldn't even imagine. This man has more information in 2 days packed in that will absolutely transform how you think, how you feel, how you act, and what you create in your life. Don't question it, just do it.
Don't question it, just do it. That's the kind of testimonial you want, isn't it? Don't question it, just do it. It's the best money you'll ever spend. So here's the thing. I'm not going to offer a strict persuasion package for you. I've done that enough. Most of you have seen that. Most of you have been there. Here's what I'm going to do, though. The economy's changing a lot right now, and there are a lot of people who are looking for how do I do different things in my business in order to expand my marketplace, in order to get more money. And I do this very rarely. About once every 2 or 3 years, I'll put on a program like this. And I'm going to do something that's going to give you a couple of opportunities. If you just want pure persuasion information, here's how you get it. They're going to be passing around an order form in just 1 second here. Where are those at? They're coming? Okay. Here, we'll just wait for them for a second. This would be an exceptional time to tweet while we wait for the order forms. That's not the order form. They get that too, but they get the order forms first. How many people here are, just raise your hand if you say, listen, I'm interested in learning some more right now. Because I'm going to get these to you quickly. Okay, keep your hand up. Get these people forms first, everybody else. You grab your form and come up here with me. If you're interested, grab your form and come up here with me. That's right. Only as quickly as your body will move you now. Go ahead and come up. Go ahead and come up. Even you. Grab your stuff, come up here. Now, these are people who are taking action. I also want to show you something else that we're doing. These are people who are willing to learn more than they've imagined they could learn before. They're willing to take some advantage with their business that they haven't had. So here's the thing I'm going to do. There we go. Okay. So for those of you who are interested in transforming your lives and transforming your businesses and adding an additional revenue stream, if you're just interested in persuasion, package A is for you. Here's what you're going to get. You're going to get my 5-hour Dark Art of Persuasion transcripts with transcripts. You're going to get a 4-hour How to Become a Recognized Expert in 30 Days MP3 set. You're going to get downloadable mentoring session with me called Persuasive Persona, where I break down exactly how to create a persona that will transform who you are. How to be the most obvious and most standout person in your environment. I'm also going to give you another downloadable mentoring session called the Myth Model, which walks you through precisely how to create and tell an effective story. And then I'll give you my 13-disc Renegades of Persuasion DVD set. If you were at Renegades of Persuasion, was it a powerful event?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's not just me talking there. There's people like Dr. Kevin Hogan, Dr. Rachna Jain, Deb Misek was there. There were a bunch of other people who were there presenting at the event where you get to learn in a very detailed way how to leverage persuasion online and offline. You can give everybody else order forms too for people who didn't get them yet, but I wanted the people, because I have a limited number of these, I want the people who took action first to have an opportunity at them. You're also going to get a copy of my best-selling book, Subliminal Persuasion, a copy of my audio book, Making Marketing Work, and you're going to get free membership into my online coaching program. That's $2,436 in value. Cross out $2,436, please. Write in $997. If you want that for $997, that's the price. Oh, that's interesting. Here's what I want you to do, every one of you. If you're interested in this, now wait, there'll be more in just a second. I want you to fill out this form. In fact, everybody who is here, even if you intend not to buy from me, I want you to fill out this form. Because I'm going to give you one last persuasion lesson. Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Fill out the form with me. If you absolutely positively know, no matter what I say, no matter what I do, even if I were to give you a crisp $1 million bill that you would not buy from me, do not put your credit card information down here. I don't want to be responsible for that. Fill in your name. Fill in your billing address. Fill in your shipping address if it's different. Put down your phone number. Now here's the thing. Everybody who's filling this out, and especially you guys, write legibly. If I can't read it, I won't call you and I won't send you your stuff. Write legibly. Put down your card number. Put down your expiration date, pardon me, and the 3 or 4 digit security code. Write in your email address. Now, who would like me just to give you package A for free? Anybody would like that? If you would like to have package A for free, grab your order form and move up here, please. Grab your order form and move up here because there's only 15 packages available. If you'd like package A for free, get your order form and come up here as quickly as you can. Very good. Okay. Keep completing your form. So here's how you get Package A for free. I'm going to talk to you about Package B for a minute. Package B is the thing that's going to transform you most quickly. Package B is my iconic leverage package. It's a full live 2-day training that I did on how to create the most powerful impact in your marketplace, how to be seen as the recognized expert in your marketplace, how to be the person that people have to buy from, to be the most compelling expert, to be the most obvious choice in your market. So we go through every single step of creating powerful stories, of developing detailed online, offline, publicity, media strategies that you can use to preemptively persuade. We demonstrate exactly how to condition your audiences, demonstrate exactly how to get people to systematically buy more and more from you. That is that's all on DVD. You're going to get that immediately. You're going to get that program sent to you immediately. And here's what I'm going to do, and this is the part that and that has a value of $2,995. I'm also going to give you a one-on-one strategy session with me. I very rarely do one-on-one sessions with people anymore simply because I travel 180 days a year and I speak so often that it's very difficult for me to do this. So for the people who are here, I'll give you a one-on-one strategy session and we will absolutely optimize your business. If anybody here has ever had a strategy session with me, you'll know that within 1 hour you're going to learn a lot. And in addition, here's what I'm going to do. This is my free gift to you. If you buy here and here only, I'm going to do a 2-day live event in January, the 16th and 17th. A 2-day live event about how to create a 7-figure speaking business. So for those of you who are wondering how to expand your speaking business or who want to expand into a speaking business, if you're an author or if you're someone who has something else you need to do, you'll see all of what we're going to be covering here. But I'm virtually going to show you every single step, every single process I've used to, for the last more than 10 years, have $1 million plus a year speaking business. I'll show you how to get booked in corporations. I'll show you how to get booked on the largest platforms. I'll demonstrate to you how to create detailed closing processes that cause people to buy from you over and over. We will also create the video for you that you need to have your demo reels ready. We're going to show you exactly every form that I use from start to finish, why they're created the way they are, how they encourage people to buy more, all of the things that you have to do to be able to create this business. Then I'm going to provide a year-long, 12 months past that, mentoring sessions with me each month so that you have an opportunity to build this business systematically, that I can answer your questions and make sure that you can earn all of the money that you need and want to earn from a speaking business. How many people here could use a 7-figure a year speaking business? Sure. This is the fastest, simplest way to do this. Anybody here who's been to my trainings will tell you that the trainings that I do, these are not, let me get a bunch of speakers up here and a bunch of people sell it to you. This is me breaking it down for you step by step, systematically, exactly how to do what it is that I do. I'm not worried about creating my competition because none of you are my competition. Most of you people are not trying to dominate the niche of persuasion. And if you are, I welcome you anyway. I'm not worried about it. But the point is that I'm going to demonstrate to you, give you a model, show you exactly how to do what it is that I do consistently. My business, my speaking business, has not changed in this economy. I still get as many corporations asking me to speak. I still get as many promoters asking me to speak. And I still get as many people to buy. Other parts of my business have changed, probably like yours has, but this business has stayed very evergreen throughout many different recessions, throughout many different economic downturns. If you want to learn how to do this, I will teach you step by step how to do it. It's included as my gift to you if you buy Package B. So you'll get Package A, plus you'll get free admittance to the live 2-day event on how to build a 7-figure speaking practice. Covers all the stuff you see on the yellow pages. Just circle Package B. When you fill out your form, make sure that you also sign your form. $2,997. How many people think that's a pretty good value? $2,997 to learn how to build a 7-figure speaking business? I want to make it ridiculous for you. I want to make it stupid simple. I want to make this the easiest decision you've ever made. Fair? Take $1,000 off, $1,997. You get all of that. You get the live 2-day event. You get my full iconic leverage package. You get everything that's in Package A. $1,997, only available as long as I am physically in this building. Once I leave tomorrow, this price goes back up to $29.97. You can call, you can ask, you can beg, you can play, whatever you want to do. I will not change the price, it'll be $29.97. Fair enough? Yeah. So at $19.97 right now, you get all of the other stuff for free, and I'll throw in one more thing for you. For everybody who buys this today, right now, after this break, We'll have our first mentoring session in the morning at breakfast. I'll buy you breakfast, and I'll show you how to maximize your game while you're here and how to set up more effective joint ventures. Also show you how to start getting booked immediately. Fair enough? So that's your opportunity right now. That's my time. I appreciate you being here. $1,997. Make sure you take advantage of this because it goes up $1,000 as soon as I leave. So I look forward to helping each and every one of you. I look forward to seeing all of you. Thank you very much for being here today.